Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Faith here, and I like to do videos about mental health awareness, and I like to share some of my stories. Today I actually have a rather really sad story that I'm going to share today, and that is that my grandpa died on June 10th at 3 p.m. So he passed away just less than a week ago. So, I don't want this video to be incredibly sad today. I would like to actually just celebrate his life and share his story in regards to my life and how much of an impact that he was. So, I wouldn't have had grandparents growing up because my mom's parents died before I was born. And then my dad's dad died, and then my dad's mom is out of the picture right now, so I wouldn't have had any grandparents. And actually it was really, really kind and thoughtful that my mom's friends' parents, so grandma and grandpa, ended up being our grandparent figure in our lives. They actually moved from Sudbury to Ottawa in order to actually spend more time with their grandbabies, and that was a huge, huge thing for us, and we've always had them in our lives. So ever since we were young, we would spend time with them, we would go visit frequently, they would take us out for Happy Meals or going to like a local pool and things like that. And so the first times that we actually ever slept over and stayed away from our parents when me and my sisters were younger was with my grandparents, and we'd stay at their place. They had a room for us, or we would go to Mont Tremblant quite a few times, etc. So my grandparents are such a huge part in my life, and I know I've mentioned it in a few videos before, but what I want to say is my grandpa is the most kind, generous, beautiful soul that I've ever known. He has taught us that men can be kind, and men don't have to lose their temper, and they have just as much love for you. So I'm just going to quickly discuss what had happened. So about 6 years ago, Grandpa was diagnosed with bone cancer, and he had 6 months to live if he had not received treatment. He decided to do chemotherapy and radiation, and this went on for a couple years, went on and off. His progress was good and then not so good, and so he's been dealing with a lot of health issues for quite some time. And I mean, obviously I'm very lucky to have an extra 6 years in my life with him, but it played a real hard toll on his health, and he got weaker, his speech, decreased a little bit. He was all there mentally, he knew what we were saying, he wanted to engage in conversation, just the thought process and speaking took a little bit longer. And we really just loved including him in our lives and in all of our activities. So after that, he'd been in the hospital, I guess, in the past year or two, quite a few times for pneumonia and things like that. And at that point, my family kind of thought maybe that was going to be the end. Until recently. So the end of May, we got, a family message from my grandma just telling us how sick he is and how things are not doing so great, etc. But basically we found out that our grandpa was sick and it was looking terminal this time, which was really, really hard for me to accept because, as you can tell, my grandpa's been bouncing back for the past 6 years. But when we saw him, there were some okay times, but his body started getting weaker because of the bone cancer, and he couldn't sit himself up in bed, and he couldn't go to the bathroom on his own, and things like that. Today, when I'm filming this, is Monday, June 14th. So on the Sunday before he passed, he was conscious, and he was, trying to give me a hug, and my sister played piano for him, and it was really, really sweet. But then after that Sunday to the Wednesday, which is when he passed, you could tell he lost consciousness. Occasionally he'd open his eyes, but you couldn't tell if he recognized you and things like that. And then since I saw him afterwards, he was more in a deep sleep, and of course he had ports and medication was going in and etc. So it was a painless death. But what I wanted to mention was how beautiful it was. And I think that's because I really got to see my family come together. And, you know, I had an aunt volunteer to look after him and help my grandma because he was not in hospice care at the time due to COVID family visitation restrictions. My family wanted to keep him home in order for all of us to come to peace with the end of his life. So I just wanted to say that my family was very brave, and a lot of us stepped up to the plate and went over to visit and helped take care of him any way we could. I thank all of the home nurses that would come in at night in order to give my grandma some sleep, but it was really, really hard. But what I wanted to say was that his death was beautiful. And the reason I think that is because I don't believe he was in pain at the end because of all the medication, but he was also surrounded by family. So he actually passed away on Wednesday, June 10th at 3 p.m. And at about 1:30 is when all of us had arrived at their house in order to say our goodbyes. So that just goes to show that he really was waiting for all of us. And I think he was waiting for all of us because he knew that we could recuperate and be stronger together and deal with the grief of his loss together. So I just wanted to share that story. And it's going to be a short video today. I just wanted to share this. And essentially, I'm doing okay. I think my family's doing okay. Obviously, it's going to be really difficult. And obviously, the closer you are to a person, the more you feel intense emotions when you either lose them. So I'm also going to show you some really cute photos of Grandpa and me growing up. I'm not going to include photos of the rest of my family just for privacy reasons. If you're wondering, due to COVID, we cannot have a celebration of life due to family restriction size gatherings. So we're actually going to wait to host, or my grandma, whoever is organizing it, will wait to throw a celebration later on when the restrictions are a little less. Once the restrictions are, you know, we can have a larger gathering. So for now, you know, I'm just wearing Grandpa's sweater right now, by the way. And, you know, I just pretend that he's hugging me, and I just think of the good times. Whenever I wouldn't see him after a while, every single time I'd come over, he would tell me how beautiful I was. And like my grandma said, his granddaughters really were his pride and joy. And he was mine too. Anyway, thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.